FOP is a catastrophic sabotage of the body's skeletal system. There's no other condition like it in nature. Essentially, the body turns one normal organ system into another. This process of metamorphosis, this very, very elusive scientific process that's been shrouded in mystery for thousands of years. Essentially, children who have FOP look normal when they're born. They move around just like any other child. But they do have one thing that's noticeable, and that is a malformation of the great toes. Around the age of 2 to 5, generally in the first decade of life, but often between the ages of 2 and 5, very suddenly painful swellings that look like tumors begin to appear on the children's neck and back, shoulder areas, shoulder girdles. They can come up overnight. I mean, it's astonishing how rapidly they can arise. Over the course of the next several weeks, each of these lumps generally undergoes a metamorphosis. It transforms the muscles in which it's arising, the muscles and tendons and ligaments and soft tissues in these children from which these lumps are arising, and transforms them through this process of metamorphosis into a bone, into a piece of bone. Eventually, this process occurs throughout the body in characteristic ways, almost as if the body is creating a second skeleton with the same pattern that it used to create the first skeleton. Eventually, these ribbons and sheets and plates of bone replace the body's muscles, tendons, ligaments, all of our moving parts, lock them in place, lock the joints in place, and render movement completely impossible. And any attempt to remove this extra bone leads to explosive and catastrophic episodes of new bone formation. Even simple things like preschool immunizations or injections into the jaw for dental work, bumps and bruises that to most of us would be innocuous, cause children who have FOP to begin that bone forming process. But once the bone forms, you can't get rid of it. It's normal bone, it's in the wrong place, and if you try to get rid of it, the body creates more bone. It's one thing to describe FOP, it's another thing to actually see it take over the life in the body of a child, to see how it really transforms their body, but also to understand at a human level, at a very, very human level, what it is doing to children as they're growing and developing. Instead of becoming more independent, they become less independent. And there are many, many tragedies to this condition, but that is one of the most extraordinary ones. That around the time that children and adolescents begin to exert their independence, they become extremely dependent upon others for all of their activities of daily living.
Their lives are going to change drastically. Not only the parents' lives, but the siblings' lives are going to change, the grandparents, the neighbors, the school system, everybody that is involved with an FOP patient, their lives change to a certain extent because of this disease.
Getting up, getting dressed, washing, bathing, feeding ourselves, all the things that we need to do to get our lives going require enormous, enormous efforts as life goes on with FOP. And that's the enervating and really soul-destroying aspect of this disease.
There's a target now. So I think with the right time, right energy, and right resources, we can hit the target. We can hit the bullseye and get this thing solved.
It's not like cancer or diabetes or Alzheimer's where everybody's aware of it and everybody wants to find a cure. It's very difficult to raise funds for FOP because it is so rare. And it's just not on the radar as much as the other more well-known diseases. But the families, they're still devastated by what they see happening to a member of their family that has this disease. You can't do the research without the money. So it was up to the families, and they have led the grassroots effort to raise the funds. And 80% of the money is raised by families at fundraisers from barbecues to golf tournaments to letter campaigns, garage sales, bake sales, everything that you can name.
To fund research and watch it expand because you're funding it. Research exists. There's 5 more people in the lab. There's 10 more people in the lab because someone's funding research.
I think families really need to probably step it up even more than they have, and get new families involved with fundraising, make FOP as known as we can.
It's probably more important that we have the funds now than before we discovered the gene, because now the excitement is there, we've discovered the gene, now we have to find out how to manipulate that gene. And it takes research dollars, just like it did to discover the gene.
Our stories, no matter when they've happened and no matter how old our children are, our stories are often way too familiar. And I would welcome the day that the stories really changed. Wouldn't that be great?